Let's talk about some of those actual tips. So, yes, I often talk about like some of the general stress relieving tips that we can do long term on our day to day to help our nervous system recalibrate. That's another talk, and we'll get into that. But this slide here is going to be focusing on, again, some of those acute in the moment things you can do, either if you're having an allergic response or if you're just having an anxious nervous system kind of response. So the first one is to just breathe. I've probably talked about this to all of you multiple times, but belly breathing, deep belly breathing is the best way by far to stimulate the vagus nerve and decrease the nervous system response. So belly breathing for a few reasons does that. When you breathe into your belly and you actually feel your belly expand, you're actually pulling the nerve through the diaphragm physically. So that's activating it. When you breathe really slowly, again, focusing on the exhale, really elongating the exhale, what that does is it's a feedback loop to your nervous system. So you're by manipulating your breath and breathing slowly, your nervous system says, oh, I must be calm because I'm breathing slowly. And it will in turn sort of calibrate to that versus like an unconscious, shallow chest breathing, fast breathing, which a lot of us do. I'm myself, I'm guilty of that. Kind of feedbacks to your nervous system that you're stressed and anxious, which is kind of the nervous system response to do. So when we take control of that, we're actually feeding that back and teaching our nervous system to calm down while we're parasympathetically pulling on that nerve. Better if you do it in the morning, right after you wake up and right before you go to sleep, because that is when, again, we are in that alpha brainwave state and it's easier to access our subconscious mind. So first thing to do, if you're feeling anxious, you're feeling stressed, you're feeling hot, you're feeling anxious, take a couple seconds and take a few deep belly breaths. Okay, so other things we can do, humming and chanting. So again, this is the yogis knew this because the nerve runs behind the chest. Humming and chanting is always a good thing to do. You can tap on it as well. So I talk about this a lot. I won't go into it that much more than that, but yes. Community. So calling a friend, there is actually a ton of scientific research, and this is how our nervous systems evolved to be in community. So part of the vagus nerve is like a whole big chunk of it is actually regulated or built to calibrate to other people around us. So we actually tune into their energy, to their facial expressions, to the way they're moving, they're talking, their tone, things that we aren't conscious of. And this helps us feel a sense of safety. Again, the vagus nerve is all about safety and survival. And so it knows that in community, that's how humans thrive. It knows it's safe. So this is a way to help calm that down. So again, if you're feeling hot, red, anxious, call a friend, call someone you feel really safe with, or even just go to like a location. I do this a lot often if I'm like alone at home and I feel like I need some energy or to be around people. I'll sometimes go to like a coffee shop that I feel really safe and comfortable in. I know the baristas, I know like the faces that generally hang out there. I know the vibe of it, and this will help me sort of calm in that community with that nervous system. So that's something big to do. Valsalva maneuver. Okay, so we did this yesterday in our meditation if you were on the call. If not, this is a fun trick to do. So what this is essentially, it's like clenching your butt, bearing down, and really like clenching and increasing the pressure in your chest cavity. So the best way to explain it is to like clench your butt and bear down, or I guess you're not really clenching, but like bearing down like you're trying to poop, but don't actually poop, hopefully. And what you're doing is you're increasing the pressure in the chest cavity, which is where that nerve is. And that's kind of, again, going to slow your heart rate down, feedback, and tell your nervous system that you are calm. So again, this is an immediate thing that you can do if you're feeling anxious. Sit down, take a few deep breaths, and like bear down a little bit. You can make sound effects, helps extra. Okay, safe movement. So another one is, so the vagus nerve, again, is above, it controls a lot of the nervous system above the belly, above the diaphragm. So another way you can feed back to the nervous system that you're calm and safe is to do some safe, slow movements above the head and neck. So like really slow, luxurious, nourishing neck circles, like shoulder rolls, just like that kind of like giving yourself a hug, like smiling, like moving your face. Really slow movements, safe movements above the neck will kind of also feedback, tell your nervous system you're safe. And again, something we did yesterday, you can sense a theme here, the theme of the week, nervous system, or theme of my life, I guess, really, of all of our lives. But shaking. So this is more of like a potent technique, but think about a lot of animals. And the example I like to use is an antelope in the wild in Africa. If you look it up, one of their most primal responses, if they like are chased by a cat, a cheetah or whatever, and they win and they somehow get away from it and they survive, they start shaking, like just like shaking. And the human body does this too. Like if you have ever, like when someone's about to die, that's a really grim example, they'll start shaking. That's a little bit different, but or if they've just been hit by a car, sometimes they'll start shaking almost like a seizure. But what it is it's actually the nervous system releasing. So that's another primal response, is just shaking. So if you feel like you're just like really elevated, sometimes I'll do this too, because when I go into like a really anxious fight or flight state, I go fight, and I like need to like dart away, to disappear. I'm like a little bird and a rat in a cage, I guess. So something that I've learned to do, one of the most potent tools that I now have in my toolbox, is I just like will shake. And it doesn't need to like you can put on a song that you feel good with and kind of like bounce to it. You can literally just like shake around, like whatever you need to do. This is your nervous system's way of like literally shaking it off. So all of these things are really great for stress response and nervous system, but this is a talk on allergies. So that's how we're bridging it back, is specifically the vagus nerve response to the allergic, or relationship to the histamine release in the allergic response. Now I'll talk about this later, but I think I didn't have enough room for 7 points, and I'm remembering it. And I've talked about this before, but I'm going to talk about acupressure later and some points. But this is one that's also really, really potent in helping calm the vagus nerve down immediately. Kind of just like a fun little thing, but I might have big headphones in, so you might not be able to see, but like right where my piercing is, and there's a whole thing about piercings and acupuncture points. But anyways, I got this done a long time ago. Right where my piercing is in the concha there's an acupressure point, and it's called 0 point. It's a nervous system reset point. And also now in the modern medical science land, we are realizing that it is one of the terminal branches of the vagus nerve. So go figure, the Chinese knew that somehow. Maybe they didn't know the words to it, but they knew it was a point of conglomeration where a bunch of nerve terminals end. And this, again, you can feed back to the vagus nerve and kind of massage it by kind of just like literally massaging that point on the ear. Now you can, like, I say left ear specifically because that is the side that doesn't normally like mess too much with the heart rhythm. The right side, it does terminate on the right ear as well, but those nodes tend to more mess with the rhythm. Now it doesn't really matter as much if you're just kind of massaging. This is like if you're putting a needle in it, which probably all of you are not doing. More of a caution for like me if I'm doing acupuncture, but just something to be aware of. So left side is kind of just what I say. Yes. Okay. So those are just some really potent nervous system techniques. Now, if you